What's up, YouTube land? Carolina Jackpot back with part 2 of my picks and predictions for week number 6 of the college football season. Getting back to you kind of late on this one. Louisville, North Carolina State game just finished up, and can already go on ahead and put that one in the victory column. North Carolina State covered the spread and won the game straight up, which I predicted that they would. Let's get back to what we were going on with yesterday before we got cut off. Notre Dame at UNC, once again, Notre Dame will cover the spread there and win that game fairly easily, at least by 3 touchdowns. North Carolina's just terrible, and Notre Dame's getting better every week. Minnesota at Purdue. A lot of people were in love with the Minnesota team before the season started. Thought they were going to do some great stuff, and they still could have a chance to improve later on down the road, but they're not playing very well right now. They just lost at home to Maryland. Purdue is having one of their better seasons in a long time under new coach Jeff Brom, and I look for them to win that game at home and cover the spread against the Golden Gophers, probably by about a touchdown. Interested in winning Miami at Florida State. This used to be the game of the year. Not so much anymore. Florida State's terrible this year, ain't they? Oof, boy, the offensive line is bad. They won last week against Wake Forest. I don't know if that's not a bad loss for Wake Forest. I'm going to take Miami to cover the spread here. I think they're about 3-point favorites. I don't know. It could be like a 2-touchdown victory for the Hurricanes. Anything's possible in this rivalry. That's another one that you don't really know what's going to happen, but I don't see Florida State doesn't have right now the depth or the athletes to compete with Miami. Miami is looking very good. Who was it that said Mark Richt can't coach? LSU is at Florida. Florida's 3-point favorites in this game. I am going to go out on a limb here and pick LSU to actually cover the spread and win this game. I don't think Florida's that good. That defense and that does not impress me at all. And LSU, I think, is going to be looking to rebound after last week's poor performance. Poor performances the last couple of weeks, really. Last week, loss at home to Troy. Close loss to Syracuse, or a close win against Syracuse a couple of weeks ago at home. I think they're actually better than what their last couple of performances suggest. So let's look for LSU to pull the upset and win in Florida on Saturday afternoon. Penn State is at Northwestern, 13.5-point favorites on the road at Ryan Field. Penn State's going to cover the spread here and win this game by about 3 touchdowns. Looking pretty good. Looking pretty good lately. A close game with Iowa, but that notwithstanding, Northwestern last week, they lost by about 11. No, it was like they lost by 9 on the road at Wisconsin, but they were down by like 3 touchdowns in that game. And had a couple of garbage time TDs to pull it kind of close and make it look like it was closer than it really was. I think Penn State's going to cover the spread there and win that one fairly easily. Arkansas at South Carolina, close one, near and dear to my heart. Arkansas is 2.5-point favorites in Columbia to beat the Gamecocks. I don't see that happening. Arkansas lost to Texas A&M by 7 points. Same margin the Gamecocks lost to them by in College Station last week. I think South Carolina's looking to rebound. This game right here is going to kind of make or break the season. If they can win this game, there's several more winnable games on that schedule, and they could go like 7-5 still. And that win over NC State last at the first of the year, first game of the season, looking even more and more impressive for the Gamecocks right now. And that could be huge come bowl time as far as the difference in going to, let's face it, the difference in going to a lower tier bowl and a mediocre bowl. Because we're not going to an upper tier bowl. I mean, I think that's safe to say. There's a couple of more sure losses on that schedule. But Arkansas is not very good. That quarterback they got, he'll He'll throw it away a couple of times, throws a couple of interceptions. Also, the David Williams factor. David Williams, former running back for the Gamecocks, played here for 3 years. Once known as the Pennsylvania Express, never did materialize into much of anything. Coach Muschamp questioned his work ethic last year after he graduated. Graduate last year and went to Connecticut to play. And I think that coach up there questions work ethic, so I never really saw the field for them. It never really became part of the team during the season, and ended up at Arkansas. And he scored a few touchdowns for the Razorbacks in the red zone, giving it to him inside the 5-yard line, little stuff like that. But, there's that factor. You don't want that guy to come into your stadium and embarrass you. I think they're going to stack him up and, in the process, stack up the rest of the Razorbacks backfield and handle them at home. Louisiana Tech is on the road at UAB. UAB just bringing their program back this year. They're 11.5-point underdogs to the Louisiana Tech Bulldogs at Legion Field. I'm going to look for Louisiana Tech to cover the spread here. Certainly win the game. UAB's got they're 2-2. Their wins came against Alabama A&M and a 7-point win over FCS newcomer or FBS newcomer Coastal Carolina. So I think the Louisiana Tech Bulldogs got a little bit too much for them, and that's going to be a wider margin than that. Marshall's on the road at Charlotte. Marshall is playing much better this year, starting to actually play up a little bit more to the caliber that I think they were capable of playing up to. They went on the road to NC State. They gave them a game for about 3 quarters up there. Had a good win last week on the road at Cincinnati in a game which I thought the Bearcats were going to win and cover the spread. They didn't. Marshall ended up winning that game by about 15 points, beating Miami of Ohio. So they're a decent team. Charlotte is winless and 15-point underdogs at home. I look for Chase Litton and the Thunder and Herd to cover the spread in that game. ACC matchup in Eatontown. Virginia Tech at Boston College. Hokies are 16.5-point favorites over Boston College. I do think that Virginia Tech is going to win this game, but Boston College has improved since the beginning of the year. That Clemson game, they really played good for 3 quarters. Last week, had Central Michigan at home. Beat them by about 3 touchdowns. They're getting better. Boston College was on a bowl last year, actually, and couldn't make it back again this year, conceivably. Virginia Tech, really, I'm not as impressed with them as I was to begin with. I thought last week they were going to give Clemson a run for their money, but that game was never really in doubt. It ended up being 31-17, and that final score actually made that game look a little bit closer than it really was. Clemson just dominated that game from start to finish. Virginia Tech was never really in it. So I'm not really that impressed with them on the way they will play. I think they're still a year away or so from contending in that ACC Coastal, and they'll win this game by 10 points, 14 points, something like that. But I look for the Eagles to cover the spread in that game. Alabama on the road at Texas A&M. They're 26.5-point favorites. Let's take the Tide to cover the spread here. Win 59-0 at Vanderbilt, and then last week 66-3 at home against Ole Miss. I mean, they're on the road at A&M, but is A&M really that much better than Vanderbilt? I don't think they are. I don't think they're 30 points better than Vanderbilt by any stretch of the imagination. So that's why I'm looking for Alabama to cover the spread here. They're too much. I mean, they too many weapons. Jalen Hurts is playing good right now. I think the Tide rolls, probably win by about 35 points or 5 touchdowns, however you want to look at it. over Texas A&M, which is quickly becoming a dumpster fire. Missouri is at Kentucky. Speaking of dumpster fires, Missouri, terrible, terrible, terrible. They, they're 1-3, I think, right now. Had one lone win over an FCS team. They lost to my Gamecocks 31-13. They lost to Purdue 35-3, I think it was. And then the Auburn, that score was just so awful. I mean, 51-14, I think it was. They had a bye week last week. And, yeah, I don't think that they did a whole lot of improvement on that bye week. Kentucky didn't play very well last week either. They won by 4 at home against Eastern Michigan. So I think they're going to be looking to rebound at home and have a good performance. And I believe they'll do just that. 9.5 points is not much of a spread when you're playing Missouri, which is easily the worst team in the Southeastern Conference, in my opinion. I think Kentucky rolls here, probably win this game by about 3 or 4 touchdowns in Commonwealth Stadium. Wisconsin's on the road at Nebraska. I apologize if you all can't read my writing here. I used a Sharpie marker here, and I used the fat tip part, not the thin tip part that I should have used. Nebraska is, what in the world did I write there? Nebraska is 11-point underdogs at home. I look for them to cover the spread. Nebraska can play tough at home. They have not been a bad football team this year. And Wisconsin is another team that's really, I'm not sold on them. Kind of a little bit overrated. I think they'll win the game, but I think the Cornhuskers will keep it close and inside the 11-point margin. San Diego State on the road at UNLV. For the life of me, I cannot understand this spread at all. 9.5 points is all that San Diego State's favored by. They're undefeated, beating Stanford, Air Force, a couple other decent wins. San Diego State has. UNLV has lost at home to Howard. They went on the road to Ohio State and absolutely got throttled. Not quite as bad as I thought they would. They do have a win over San Jose State and Idaho, I believe, the Vandals. San Diego State's cover the spread here. They'll win this game easily going away. UNLV not very good. And final game of the evening, Michigan State is on the road at Michigan. Michigan's 10.5-point favorites, and I look for them to cover the spread here. That Michigan defense has been really good this year, smothering, as a matter of fact. Michigan State lost by 18 points over the week at home to Notre Dame. I think Michigan's definitely better than Notre Dame, so that's why I'm going with the Mighty Wolverines to win in Ann Arbor by probably 2 to 3 touchdowns over their rivals from East Lansing, Michigan, the Spartans. All right, guys, that's my Week 6 picks and predictions from Carolina Jackpot. Check back and see how I did later on Saturday evening. Hopefully this week we'll be able to do a recap show. I won't be embarrassed to do one like I was last week. All right, guys, I appreciate it, and I will see y'all later. Peace, and I am out. Go Gamecocks.